We'll call the meeting to order and have a roll call by the secretary.
Mr. Fiddler,
Here.
Mr. Overland,
Here.
Mr. Lowe,
Here.
Mr. Burridge,
Here.
Mr. Huckabee,
Here.
Mr. Alexander,
Here.
Mr. Burgess,
Here.
Mr. Regan.
Here.
The chair declares that we have a quorum present to conduct business and would like to recognize, got some important people here today. Mr. Tim Gatz from OTA. It's always glad to have Tim back where he came from. Paul Harris, Highway Safety. How you doing, Paul? Thank you for coming. And let's see if I can say this right. You always know, don't you? Bisharat Siddiqui. There you go.
Sharat Siddiqui.
That wasn't too bad, was it? Federal Highway. And I guess you've been here a little while now, so you're kind of getting to know everybody and feel right in. And I'd like to recognize the director right now. Let's hear what the director has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I do have an award that I want to hand out this morning for some guys that did what I think is a really special thing. But before we get to that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for Russell Hewlin to come up. He has an introduction to make that I forgot about.
We'll recognize Mr. Hewlin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, members of the commission. It's a pleasure, with pleasure, I announce the selection of Jamie Bleeker as our Office Services Division Manager. Jamie began working with ODOT in 1997 as a contract employee and shortly became full-time thereafter. In 2001, he moved into the Information Services Division, has worked for ODOT for 17 years before taking a position at the Office of Management and Enterprise Services. He comes back to DOT, and we welcome him today in that position. Jamie? Thank you.
It is good to have Jamie back in the house. He's back where he belongs, as you said about Mr. Gatz, but it is good to have Jamie Bleeker back. Commissioners, a few months ago, I had a conversation, just a casual conversation with the Commissioner of Department of Public Safety, Michael Thompson, one day, and we were talking about things at the Capitol and how we get the message out, and ODOT has been pretty good about getting the message to at least incoming freshmen, and then that ongoing message with legislators throughout their tenure at the legislature. Commissioner Thompson was wanting to do something similar, and as we went through the conversation, we realized how the Highway Patrol and the Department of Public Safety, how their mission had changed over the years. And if you think about the Highway Patrol, aptly named the Highway Patrol because that's what they did, but their mission has changed significantly over the years. And then we got into the conversation, how are we going to get that message out? Three of our guys, the guys in the back room right now, are the ones who ultimately produced a video for the Department of Public Safety to take that video and then to show it to civic organizations, legislators, to educate the public about what the true mission today of the Highway Patrol and the Department of Public Safety is. So if we could, before I called the three guys up, I would like the commission to see this video. I will tell you that the first time I was in the room when Commissioner Thompson saw it the first time, and he asked for an immediate rerun. He wanted to see it again. He thought it was an amazing effort, and I think you will share that same thing. So guys, back there in the back room, if you'd roll that for us. couple of weeks ago at the annual Trooper Awards luncheon that is hosted by supporters of the Department of Public Safety, 3 of our guys, and if they could come up, it would be Josh, Dylan, and Bart. Sorry, Bart. If you guys could come up, I'd like to recognize you in front of the commission and give you this award again, because the impact that you've made on the Department of Public Safety and the relationship between the department and ODOT has just grown. Thank you very much. We're glad you didn't show up.
That was truly a great film, except for that couple of seconds. No, it was really a great job. Appreciate it. Those guys distinguish themselves all the time. We're going to skip the announcements and presentations momentarily and handle item number 42, the approval of the minutes of the Transportation Commission meeting of March 6th, 2017. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve item
Have a
42.
motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Item number 43 through 47 is a consent docket. And if there's a commission member that would like to pull an item out and discuss it separately, we will with unanimous consent. Otherwise, we'll hear a motion on the consent docket.
Mr. Chairman, there's a correction on item 44. The last bullet point, it says State Highway 102 should be 105. It's a Scrivener's error.
You've heard the correction. Any other comments? If there aren't any, we'll hear motions.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Item number 48 is the engineering contracts. Mr. Tiegler?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
I think we should point out that all the orange is for Workplace Awareness Month and week and day.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is by far the brightest commission I've ever seen today, so appreciate it. I have 2 engineering contracts this month. Part A is a statewide on-demand land surveying contract. We've selected 4 firms: Carroll Surveying Services, Heartland Surveying and Mapping, Keystone Engineering and Land Surveying, and Whitehawk Engineering and Design. The aggregate not-to-exceed amount is $1 million for these 4 contracts. Part B is Tulsa County. We've selected Craig and Keith Line for construction plans for State Highway 11 and 86th Street. It's an intersection modification project. Total not-to-exceed amount is $308,265. This project is in the 8-year construction plan, and the proposed let date is 2022. Approval is recommended, and I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions? Not, what's your pleasure? Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? We're ready to vote. Motion passes. You can continue, sir.
Item 49, engineering contract supplements. I have one this month. This is a statewide, all districts, specialized structured analysis and studies. This is with WIS, Janney, Eltzner and Associates. The supplement not to exceed amount is $12,400. Approval is recommended.
Heard the recommendation on the engineering contract supplements.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Thank you for your vote. The motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And I wanted to, you don't have to do it now, but if someone would see me after the meeting, I forgot to ask you guys, is on the county miles, if there was any changes to a particular road everybody knows about. Anybody in here shake their head or no?
There were no changes.
Say again?
There were no changes. The road is big, yeah.
Thank you. I'm signing then. Thank you guys for being so efficient with those items. It's, makes it a pleasure to be on the commission because of the job you guys do as you present your items. Item number 50 is the lettings, Mr. Atkins.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Secretary, item 50 consists of the final June, the tentative July, and the tentative August 2017 bid openings, and the department recommends approval of item 50.
Heard the presentation for item 50.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Mr. Leonard is going to present the change orders with a cumulative total of less than $75,000 as an information item.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'd like to present item number 51, parts A through Y. These are the change orders on projects with a cumulative total of change orders of $75,000 or less. This is for your information only. No action is necessary, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Is there a commissioner with a question? You can proceed to item 52, the change orders greater than $75,000, which I guess we should point out is we've changed the level, and so for the next couple of meetings, we'll make everybody aware that that used to be $50,000, it's 75,000.
Correct. This is for the members that were not in the operations subcommittee meeting. We discussed that this is the first meeting that's going to show up. Item 52, parts A through M, these are the change orders on projects with a cumulative total greater than $75,000, and your approval is recommended.
So moved.
Second.
I was speechless because of the indiscretion that you took.
I told my wife I'd catch fits over that, but
As you show everybody what you've got, you might as well turn around and show them that's why you wore it.
go Pokes.
The secretary, I think, is wanting to give you some kind of job-placed bonus or something. I don't know. He's, even though we don't do that, I don't know what's going on in the undercurrent here, Mr. Secretary, but it's making it awful hard to sit up here meeting after meeting after meeting.
I feel a lot of love in the room, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, mercy. You might explain why we changed that threshold so it's not something that we're just throwing on everyone.
Sure. Back in 2013, we modified the administrative code to allow the division engineers to have approval authority up to $75,000. We never acted on that, until recently. We kept getting some requests from the division engineers, to up the limit from 50 to 75. We did an analysis, figured out that by doing so, that would decrease the number of change orders that y'all have to approve by about 15%. And so like I say, it's something that's authorized by the administrative code. We presented it at the February commission meeting that we were going to do that. We got a letter of authorization from the director, so we started in March for this meeting, making the limit 75,000.
Well, and we're confident because we discussed it a lot, that
Yes.
will not decrease our efficiencies, it will not decrease our attention. And we're very confident in the division engineers to handle that much authority. And in reality, they handle way more authority than that in different ways anyway.
True.
And we're giving them a tool, saving time, saving a lot of presentation. I think it's prudent, and it's the time to do that. And I think that's thoughts held by all senior staff, if I'm not correct, isn't it, Mr. Director? Anything else you need to tell us about that?
Well, just one of the primary advantages is that, we can process change orders quicker. Instead of getting a change order in a month ago and having to wait for commission approval, by the action of the division engineer approving it, if its total's less than 75, it's approved. And we just process it. So it speeds up everything for the guys out in the field considerably.
Make changes in the field quicker.
Much better, yeah.
That's good.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So regarding the change orders, and obviously we look at them, the commission does for a reason, right? And so we're increasing the bar to 75 from 50. Do we benchmark, how do we know whether we're doing a good job or not regarding how we, do our whole bidding, all the plans, and then the change orders that we, of course, are going to get? We understand that. Do we benchmark against other states? How do we gauge how we do?
Well, we monitor our contract growth. We take the original contract and then compare it to what we pay over the course of the project. All in all, our contract growth is one of the best in the country. You'll be hard-pressed to find too many DOT representatives to talk about their contract growth because most of them are not as good as ours. Recently, I talked to one of the representatives with FHWA to try and find, some kind of national benchmark, and he said you can't find anything like that, Harley. But, our numbers are less than, last 5 years I checked were less than 2% contract growth. So, we're doing a phenomenal job. And with us, that includes all the incentives, early completion incentives, smoothness, asphalt binder adjustment, things like that. So, no, Oklahoma DOT is doing an outstanding job.
Generally, people don't want to be measured at that level is what's happening, but, you might point out that we finalized 38 projects in this cycle, and I think we were at 2.2 million in overrun and 2.9 million in underrun.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can pencil whip those numbers too. We all know that, but generally speaking, when you look at our project completions, of which we had a slew of them this time, it looked like, we're on the positive side.
Right.
And that's another indication or another thing to look at. I think when we started really looking at this many years ago and measuring it how we could, I think we've always been, and nobody else even attempts it.
I'm sure they do internally, they just don't like to share those numbers.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of like having shovel-ready projects. We had a question in our committee meeting for you other guys on shovel-ready project. I know some of you guys are in Washington, D.C., and there probably wasn't a lot of talk about that other than the new president wanted to let everybody know if it wasn't ready, 90 days? If you couldn't have something in 90 days, and it couldn't be considered shovel-ready. And I think we've got more than enough, if I'm keeping up with our number right, that if they gave us all the extra money, we would figure out how to spend it. But that is a big deal.
Oh, yes.
And
Without a
this,
doubt.
this latitude and the measuring of it is something we need to do, and I think you guys are doing a good job with it. Or at least you got me convinced of that. So.
That's all that counts.
Director, do you have anything to add to that, or did we cover it all? Okay, thank you. With that said, you've heard the presentation on item number 52. Did we?
Not on 52.
Motion's that, but,
I'm glad y'all pointed that out.
yeah.
But I've been waiting on this thing to pop up. I guess I need to call for the vote, don't I? There you go. I thought I had, and then I thought, well, maybe I didn't. I probably didn't and thought I had. Thank you.
You bet.
You know what they say about when you get older, but you don't have that problem.
No, sir.
You're young. Mr. Dales is he's gonna present the awards.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Secretary. Item number 53 are our recommendations for the March 16th bid opening. It is recommended that the following items in the March 16th bid opening referred to by call order be awarded. That's call orders 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 90, 110, 120, 125, 130, 140, 145 with alternate number 1, 175, 180, 190, 200, 205, 230, 250, 260, 290, 310, 320, 340, 370, and 380. It is also recommended that the following items from the March 16th bid opening referred to by call order be rejected. That's call orders 350 and 360. This concludes our recommendations for award. Your approval is requested.
Mr. Dales, what are you seeing now in asphalt binder prices and, you know, the big things, concrete, asphalt, rebar?
The last couple of months, our asphalt price has been very low. I was excited one time, one of the projects on this particular letting, we got a price of $55 a ton for asphalt, which is outstanding. We also had a PC concrete overlay project on this letting. We typically see a price of over $200. That price came in at around $125. So we're seeing quite a bit of savings the last couple lettings.
Do you recall anything about the rebar? I know, you know, we're getting another big plant that we helped make accessibility to that plant in southeastern Oklahoma better. And I don't know, when are they supposed to fire up the rebar production? Do you know, Mr. Director, Mr. Secretary?
I've heard nothing about the rebar.
They got a practice start next month, I think.
I couldn't remember.
Production in the fall.
Yeah, I think they're gonna start another production line down there they're talking about, but we ought to watch that and see how that affects our pricing up in this area too, because that's supposed to make a major difference, you know, to be able to deliver that product so close to where we're using it.
Right.
And if you get a chance, anybody, if you get a chance to take a tour of what they're doing down there, it's a zero emission plan as I understand it, and that process is something that is worth educating yourself about. And it was a big deal for us to get it just over the state line in Oklahoma, in Durant. We were talking this morning about, you know, what's going on down there. If you're not keeping up with it, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because of the pricing aspect of it, is, you know, we got that grant for the highway on 69 down there, which is a big deal. But I was talking with some realtors, and if you've got a house that's under $200,000, they're selling it in 24 hours. If it's over that, you know, you're going to have it sold in 30 days. So one of the things I've tried to relay to the guys up here is, you know, those are Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Lawton, you know, those are metropolitan area type challenges as far as transportation goes. And I certainly, since it's in my area, I appreciate the department working on that project and that grant. And it's going to make all the difference in the world. I know Anthony's in here somewhere, and the division engineer for that. There he is, and we're getting closer on a set of plans, I understand, and I know you guys are working hard on it. The Choctaws are working with us on that. They are, they're a big influence in that area and a big driver of business, and so we're trying to make sure that we stay ahead of all the entrepreneurs and all the business people in that area. But I would be interested in knowing how that's affecting rebar for us, because, you know, we just keep getting good bids. I mean, I don't know how long it can go, but it's sure allowing us to do a lot of projects that we wouldn't otherwise be able to stick in there, you know.
We'll
That's-
definitely start tracking that and keep an eye on it for you.
Yeah. Been keeping you standing up there for a while. I guess you want us to vote.
You said I was young, I can handle it.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I wanted to pass that information along to you guys, so everybody kind of be clued in, and if not, we'll hear a motion.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. It passes, Mr. Dels. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Especially all that energy you bring. The budget revisions are next, and you got lots of explaining to do.
Well, I was hoping I would skate through this really fast.
Well, a
but
budget, you know,
stretching this out a
is
little bit.
supposed to be something that you forecast. And here, we got 5 items you're changing. No, really,
You want me
there
to-
is one that I don't understand, so when you get to it,
Okay.
let me find out which one it was. It's number D. So
All right.
as you're presenting them, I'm backwards or something on that one. I'm not understanding. And I meant to ask one of the guys in the prior committee for an explanation or catch you, but I wasn't able to. So,
Okay. Agenda item 54 has 5 parts. Part A is a $20 million revision for federal share for construction. Part B is third-party share in the amount of $2 million for a curb project. Part C is a third-party share, $1.75 million for an enhancement project. Part D is 3.9 for engineering contracts with roads funds. What that means is we funded engineering contracts with roads funds, and then throughout the year, we realized we didn't need some of those balances, so we canceled those balances and need them in the current year. So usually that would show up in the carryover number. However, we need it
That's-
right now, so
that's
we're
what
going to
I
use it
was
now.
wondering about.
That's
Yeah, well,
correct.
that's not how you usually present it.
That's correct. They need it now, so
Okay.
we're budgeting it now. So, and then Part E is a $500,000 increase for county equipment, machinery and equipment, and it's from lease revenue. The actual is coming in over the estimated, so the department requests and recommends approval of this item.
So
And-
A through C, those are just where those, or B and C, I guess, is where those projects overran and the third party's making up the difference.
Well, we take an initial estimate beginning of the year of what we think the third-party amount will be. It's usually whatever in the 8-year construction work program. But if there's movement where those projects are brought forward and the estimate's lower than the actual, we have to adjust the budget. Or the estimate in the construction program's higher than what the original estimate was, then their contribution has to be increased.
So what's
So-
the 20 million in A?
Okay, so that is any time, for example, in the letting schedule, you'll see an authorization amount. And so we have to have budget for the year that the letting occurs and the award occurs. However, whenever the obligation shows up, when it crosses fiscal years, we have to rebudget that revenue source.
Okay? Anybody have any questions? All right. You've heard the proposal. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. All right, thank you. Motion passes. I'd ask the commission for a 5-minute recess where everyone stays in place. And if we can do that by acclamation. Thanks. So we're going to have a 5-minute recess in place.
Not a good thing.
We're back in session, and we'll hear item number 55, declaration of emergency, to be presented by Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Agenda item number 55 is an emergency declaration that doesn't need your approval, but I do want to read into the record and make you aware of the situation. This is for the State Highway 78 bridge over the Red River in Bryan County at the Texas state line. I'm going to read the item to put it in the record. The 2,108-foot bridge over the Red River consists of 8 210-foot high trusses and 4 100-foot pony trusses. The south pier, pier number 11, has scoured the rock footing to the point the footing has some slight undermining. In order to ensure the safety of the driving public, it is necessary to install some scour countermeasures. The countermeasures will consist of a concrete encasement reinforced with steel piling. The frequency of the bridge inspections has been increased from once every 6 months. Normally, this bridge is inspected once a year. Department forces do not have the capability required to make the required repairs. An emergency project needs to be done to repair the bridge and to maintain the structural capacity at an acceptable level to the driving public. Under the authority of Title 61 Oklahoma Statute, Section 130, and Commission Rule 731-5-1, I declare that an emergency exists which impairs the safety of the traveling public, and I authorize the department to issue an emergency contract for the repairing this bridge. The estimated cost, Commissioners, is $125,000, which is under the director's authority.
Thank you, Director Patterson. Would you also report to us, I know we had another bridge hit by a barge or a tap or whatever, and I know the department has taken a lot of measures to put in the dolphin structures at the bottom of the piers. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, early this morning, a barge got away on the Arkansas River near State Highway 51 in eastern Oklahoma. When the barge got away, it was reported to us and identified by the Coast Guard. The initial reports had the barge hitting the State Highway 51 bridge, but it did not. It actually hit the pier protection that was in place. Now, this is pier protection that's been there for a number of years because of the philosophy at the time was to put them on the downriver side, so because that's typically where you would encounter problems. Ultimately, we discovered that the barge hit the pier protection as it was supposed to, did not hit the bridge, but our ODOT forces have been out and done the inspection. The bridge is good to go. The pier protection is rock solid, and so it just bounced off and went on. So everything's back to normal, but it is something that's very important to remember that after our bridge was knocked down on I-40, we set about in motion the opportunity to put pier protection even on the upriver side, even to protect our bridges. So I believe we put in something like 60 pier protection, or dolphins as I often refer to them, just for that protection. I want to really make note of the efficiency and assistance of the U.S. Coast Guard and the Corps of Engineers and their help, and certainly the ODOT team, and springing into action as we often do in the middle of the night to make sure everything's okay for the traveling public.
You know, I understand that all states aren't in as good a shape as we are. I mean, that step that we've taken on the navigable rivers may have put us in better shape than most, kind of like our cable barriers.
That's true, Mr. Chairman. This was reported some time ago. The Coast Guard told us that the Arkansas River and the bridges along the Arkansas River are better protected than any other river corridor and inland waterway in the country. And, you know, I think it's just,
I think you need to say that again, because when it's time to pat our guys on the back, they need to hear it loud and clear.
Okay, loud and clear that we have the most protected inland waterway in the country.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and I think, again, if you look on the back of our business card, safety is number one for us, and so we're always trying to protect the stuff.
You know, that was a great response by the department when that bridge got knocked down and affected a lot of folks, more so than most people know.
Right.
But having those structures on there is just another mitigation step that we've taken. And, you know, you look at the cable barriers and you look at that, and I think we demonstrate to the public that, you know, we're going beyond than just building them something to drive over.
Well, the cable barrier has saved untold lives. You know, we could look back to a year in which on divided highways we had 39 crossover fatalities. In one 3-year period, we had more than 100. And I think last year we had 6. So it's just, that cable barrier has changed the way Oklahoma is noted across this country, and a lot of states have replicated what we did with our cable barrier.
And it routinely gets hit. I mean, I bet there's nobody in here that if they come across a cable barrier in the last 15 days hadn't seen where it's been hit. I mean, those things get hit constantly.
Yes, they do.
Great deal. I appreciate you giving us that extra information, and there does not need to be any action on this emergency unless you guys have a question or need some more information. Appreciate you, Mr. Director.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the governor is in the house.
All right.
the right color.
I guess I better hold my comments. Take it away, Mr. Director.
Governor, thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Your timing is perfect because we're going to talk about something you have a lot of knowledge about. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Governor, item 56 is the presentation and explanation about the Gilcrease Expressway in Tulsa. As you noted earlier, Director Gatz is here so Tim, why don't you come on up here, and between the two of us, we're going to tag team this. And what we're asking for today is the Commission's approval for the Turnpike Authority to move forward with the Gilcrease Expressway in northwest and west Tulsa. And I will tell you, just summarize it, many years ago, being 1961, we have a set of conceptual plans that were signed by a gentleman by the name of Burt McCaleb, Neil McCaleb's father. And that was an effort at the time by the then Department of Highways to create this corridor on the west side of Tulsa. Over the years, there's been a lot of financial challenges, and the department never had the money put together to complete that corridor. So for the last 5 or 10 years, Secretary Ridley, through the Department of Transportation and the Turnpike Authority, have been working to put together an effort to complete this much-needed corridor. Governor Fallin was part of what I would call a groundbreaking event in West Tulsa, and many times when you get into turnpike expansion, it's met with opposition. But I think Governor would agree that there's not much opposition. If there's opposition out there, I don't know where it's at. We couldn't find it because it is a much-needed corridor, and there's a lot of public support. As we go through this process, I will tell you that there are 6 public entities that are involved in this effort. That would be the Department of Transportation, the Turnpike Authority, the City of Tulsa, the county, Tulsa County, INCOG, and the Federal Highway Administration. Our partners at the Federal Highway Administration have been supporting this effort for a number of years, and to the point that we've acquired right-of-way. And the City of Tulsa and the department will be contributing right-of-way to this effort. The project is, I think Director Gatz will tell you it's a 5-mile-long project. I'm going to let him finish this conversation. But it's a 5-mile-long project, and it's got 22 bridges. Tim, tell us about the interchanges and what your timeline is for completion.
Governor, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the project will extend approximately from the intersection of 51st Street and I-44 in Tulsa and extend north about 5 miles, across the Arkansas River to connect ultimately with Edison, but there'll be an interchange at 51st Street, 41st Street, 21st Street, and with Highway 412. The facility will serve a area of Tulsa that has long been underserved. It is a very important segment, and quite frankly, we have to continue to work as transportation entities to find ways to expand our transportation network to meet the growing needs that we have out there on the transportation system. And this route really is representative of that growing need. And as Mike pointed out, Director Patterson, no individual entity that's in the group of 6 that are partners in this facility was able to reach this individually. only with the power of the partnership that we've got are we able to bring this project forward and make it happen. And we certainly appreciate the Commission's consideration and review of the proposed route. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that the Commission might have.
Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to add? Recognize you to the podium.
Governor, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, as Director Patterson and Director Gatz pointed out, this has been a long overdue project. It is certainly something that we've been on our mind, and I'll tell you when it got on my mind is about the time that Governor Fallon took office. And she talked to me about not only our bridge problem, as all of you are aware of, but also is there anything that we can do on the Gilcrease to be able to enhance that project, to be able to make it really happen. And these two gentlemen here have certainly been working on that, and I have, along with a lot of other folks, including Rich Barrier, who's back in the audience, with a lot of credit goes to Rich and his folks. But again, it was a goal for the governor to have this under construction before she leaves office, and Director Gatz, I guess it's up to you to make that happen. So, thank you, Governor.
No pressure.
Governor, do you have any additional comments?
Well, thank you, Director, thank you. Both of them? All right. You're perfect. Thank you, directors. Got two directors here, but thank you so much, and thank you to the commission members for your work on this very important project for Tulsa and Tulsa County, and being able to help economic development, job creation, and create better access to an area in Tulsa. It's been very important to their overall vision and future. And you mentioned about how this was part of their plan back in the 60s or so?
Yes.
60s, so it's taken us this long to get here, but it was fun to have the plan rolled out a couple of months ago for the Gilcrease expansion, and it's a very important project for the state overall. So thank you, and Commissioners, I appreciate your support of this issue too.
Governor, thank you, because it didn't happen until you became governor.
Well, I actually told Secretary Ridley when I came into office, I said, I want this issue resolved. It's been on the table too long, so he did it. Thank you, Secretary.
I believe those were the very words, Governor.
Well, it's fixing to be a done deal, so with that, we're ready for you to make a motion.
Before I make a motion, I'd just like to thank the governor again for this project. It's so collaborative in nature. The city of Tulsa, Mayor Bynum, we've had multiple meetings going back, Bynum, Bartlett, Taylor, LaFortune. So it's a really big project. We appreciate you coming to the dedication. And VIP, I want to give you a shout out to at INCOG. And I don't see Paul Zachary with the city of Tulsa, but I know he worked on it extremely hard as well. So thank you so much. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you for a motion.
Yo diggity.
Quit. Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. The motion passes. Thank you, and we'd recognize the secretary now to introduce the governor for some announcements and presentations.
Well, among other things, the governor of the state of Oklahoma, the lady that I've known for nearly 20 years, her focus on transportation has been unique, whether it was as a legislator here at the Capitol, as a lieutenant governor for 12 years, as 4 years in Congress, and certainly the last 6 years and few months as the governor of the state. Her focus, one of her focuses, is that she recognized a long time ago that if you're going to have a strong state, both one for economic development as well as quality of life, that there are 4 major things that have to be done that the state is responsible to do. Certainly one of those is health care, to ensure that the citizens have access to good quality health care. The second is that we need to have the safety and security so that we can protect the citizens from itself at times. And a focus on education, because she realizes the key to economic development in all cases starts with a well-educated workforce, starts with having a a state that has the opportunity to be able to advance themselves into the job market as she attracts businesses to come here, that we have the workforce, the well-educated workforce to be able to handle that. And fourth, the ones that we're always interested in is in a transportation, to be able to get raw products in, finished products out, to be able to have that quality of life so that you can get to work, to school, to play, whatever. But with that problem, as you know, was the problem with our bridges. That was the key to a lot of things. As Director Patterson talks about, I've heard him talk about it many times, you can have a bad road and you can still get over it. You got a bad bridge and you're pretty well going to stay on one side. She recognized that back again when she was lieutenant governor, when she was on the bridge that went down at Weber's Falls and the problem we had with the detours. She recognized that when she was on the T&I committee in Congress and was part of the reauthorization efforts. And certainly as a governor, she asked us to put a plan together that we would have the structurally deficient bridges down as low as possible by the time she left office. And at the time, I believe she had 700, and she can probably tell me, 708 bridges, I believe, or 706, on the list when she took office, as well as having bridges that will come on as structurally deficient during that time. And I think Director Patterson's probably got a number that he's going to give you here in a minute, Governor, but I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, and I've kind of been in this business a while and have known what other states do. No one during their administration in Oklahoma will have overseen and been focused on replacing and rehabilitating bridges. No one in the history of the state of Oklahoma has built as many bridges when she leaves office than she has. No one, I believe, across the United States in an 8-year period will have a DOT as well as local unit of governments built as many bridges as she has during her administration. She will be the bridge buildingest governor in the country before she leaves office. And with that, Governor, we'll turn it over to you, but I think Mike may want to give you a number.
Well, Governor, I do want to give you a number, and the number that we initially gave you for your State of the State was 270, because we're kind of conservative around here, and we want to make sure that we're right. So the official number, as published by the Federal Highway Administration, is 251. So we went from 321 to 251. So, Governor, you know, and you've heard me say this before, but structurally deficient bridges is our #1 performance measure at the agency, and we are still focused, even with the budget concerns that we've had in the last 5 or 6 years, on being at less than 1% by the end of the decade. So please know that we're still focused on that #1 performance measure. Mr. Chairman, could we talk about work zone safety?
It's time.
All right.
That's what all this orange is about.
Let's do this. Governor, we so appreciate you being here with us today. I understand that, well, I know for a fact, been here long enough, and folks behind me have heard this before, but for years we've had Work Zone Safety Awareness Week, and then we went to a month. Last year, we decided to change this a little bit. Even though we still celebrate and get a governor's proclamation, we really appreciate this. But we changed our focus to just work zone safety. We're 24/7, 365. It is something that we have focused on for this last year, and we will continue to focus on. You've seen our big over-the-road signs, our DMS signs that talk about Work Zone Wednesdays. We've got a Facebook page. We're going to listen to our updated PSAs in just a few minutes. But Governor, if you wouldn't mind, would you please provide us with your proclamation?
First of all, thank you, Director, for having me over today. And Commissioners, it's always a pleasure to be with you. And Secretary Ridley, thank you for your kind comments. And to the Commissioners, I want to thank you all for your work. We have made great progress. It's been thrilling to see the work and the commitment that we have made towards our roads and bridges across the state of Oklahoma, and certainly workforce and safety zone. Safety is very important for our state. But let me just say a couple of things. Thank you for approving the Gilcrease, very important project for the state. And I don't want to forget to say that it was a tremendous partnership between many different entities that stepped forward, whether it was the county, the city, the state, the federal, the Turnpike, different organizations. Thank you for all the great public-private partnerships that we have put together to make the Gilcrease possible. Be a great addition to our system. And Director and Secretary, as far as our work on our roads and bridges, you know, I think finally Oklahoma has done what it needed to do for many, many decades, and that is put substantial money towards our roads and our bridges and our infrastructure across the state of Oklahoma. And we appreciate all the tremendous work that this commission has done to develop a plan of action, the 8-year plan, which we've had, but to also prioritize the most important roads and bridges in our state that would make a difference, whether it related to safety, congestion, economic development, ease of getting around. And every time I go in a different area of Oklahoma City, maybe it's going down to Norman and I-35, or going up Broadway Extension, or maybe it is the Belle Isle Bridge, or going into Tulsa around the different areas. Every time I see that construction and my car's slowed down or people complain to me, I just say, that's progress. We're making great progress in our state. And to go, as you said, from 706 bridges back in January 2011 to 270 in January of this year, now down to 251, that's a good jump just from January till now. Yeah, keep working today. Keep working. But it just shows that when you set your mind towards something, you make it a priority, you make it a goal, and you want to have safe roads, safe bridges, and we have seen bridges that are not safe in our state. We've all experienced those times. We've made that commitment to fund them, to develop a plan, to earn the taxpayers' respect and trust, that we would prioritize the things that would make the most and mean the most difference to our state. So congratulations to the commission for all your tremendous work, your long hours that you put in to make Oklahoma a better place. It is important for, as I mentioned, congestion. As our cities grow, it's important for safety in our communities with traffic flow. It's also important for economic development. And as we try to recruit new companies to our state and create more jobs, having good roads and bridges is certainly very important to our citizens. So I appreciate all the work that you have done. But we're here today to talk also about the safety of our Department of Transportation, tremendous workers that are out on our roads and our highways and our bridges every day. We see you out there working. We know how important your job is, and we know it's a dangerous job at times. And that's why today's commission recognition and the state's recognition of safety zone improvement is very important. And your theme, Your Life Matters, Drive Like It, your campaign to once again emphasize that those are moms and dads out there working on the roads and the bridges, controlling the traffic, putting up the barriers, doing the construction work itself. That's somebody's mom and dad, brother, sister, son or daughter that's out there working. And we want them to be safe while they're working. And many times as a traveling public, we want to get around, we want to get there quickly, and it may be a little annoying to have the traffic backed up or maybe a lane blocked off somewhere, but it's all for the sake of progress in our state. As I mentioned, those other factors that it addresses, but we also have to recognize that those are real people out there doing that job. But the other side of that coin is, besides all the safety concerns of our wonderful Department of Transportation employees, and unfortunately we've lost 4 people over the last couple of years. We've also lost 85 citizens total between the DOT workers and citizens who come upon a construction zone, maybe aren't paying attention, maybe get impatient, maybe just something happens, but we've lost citizens in our state. And that's why it's important that we have this campaign called Your Life Matters, Drive Like It, drive like it, basically, just drive like it. Take time, slow down, pay attention to what's going on. And I appreciate you guys highlighting this, because we all have choices in how we drive, how we control ourselves if we run across a situation, but lives matter. And so Director, I know that you have several campaign themes, PSAs, that you're going to be putting out to emphasize the importance of being safe when we're in those construction zones, and wearing orange today, which I appreciate, and the yellow and the orange for construction. But I also have a very special proclamation to declare May and April, this past month, or this month, I should say, as Work Zone Awareness Months in our state. And so, if you don't mind, I have this special proclamation, and I will give you a quick synopsis of it. It says, whereas construction and maintenance of our streets, highways, utility infrastructure are critical to maintaining Oklahoma's economic vitality and keeping our state open for business. And whereas repair and maintenance of our streets, highways, and utility infrastructure require that periodically work zones be established. And whereas preliminary 2016 statistics show that 17 people, just in 2016, were killed and 212 were injured in 181 collisions in Oklahoma's work zones. And whereas in its history, 60 Oklahoma Department of Transportation employees have lost their life in the line of duty more than any other state agency in our state. And whereas many of these fatalities and injuries were caused by inattentive driving or speeding in construction zones. And whereas by law, the fines for speeding in work zones are doubled and texting while driving is banned, thank you to the legislature. And whereas drivers should set aside distractions, be extra cautious, give work zones their undivided attention when traveling. Now therefore, I, Mary Fallon, Governor of the State of Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim April and May of 2017 as Work Zone Awareness Months in our state, and encourage our citizens to exercise that attentiveness and the patience on our roadways. So, Director, if I may present this to you.
Thank you, Governor. We appreciate you coming, and we appreciate you making us more aware. Director Patterson, would you like to make any further comments or give us the director's report?
I would love to make some more comments on this subject matter, because this is something I'm very passionate about. Governor, thank you for bringing out the point that in the last 5 years, 85 people have died in work zones. 4 of them resemble the people in the orange vest sitting back here that represent all of our ODOT employees. Could you guys stand? I want the governor to see who works for her. These are the ladies and gentlemen. So in the last 5 years, 4 of us have passed away, died in the line of duty. But more importantly, 81 people have died in work zones that don't work for the department. People traveling through the work zone. An example would be Bobby White last year. And ironically, Bobby White, a school teacher from Owasso, died in a work zone on US 169 near Owasso during our campaign. You know, that whole family has been rocked. The school system in Owasso has been rocked, and her 2 children are left without a mother. At that same time, we lost one of our own, Gerald Gray, from Delaware County, died, and he wasn't work. He was off the roadway, but a distracted driver left the roadway and hit Gerald. So it's something we're very passionate about. Where you will see a lot of these pins, Governor, or an orange ribbon, because that's what we do. And Governor, if I might, I'd like to present you with one. So if you find it appropriate to wear that, I know you've got your governor's pin, and that's so important for you to wear that. Over the coming weeks, you're going to hear, as the chairman talked about, some PSAs. We have 2 radio PSAs and 2 television PSAs, and If the guys in the back room could run the radio first, I would appreciate it, and then we'll run the television so everyone could see what we're going to be looking at.
Clinton, Oklahoma.
My name is Tim from Garmin.
Hi there, I'm Leanne, and I.
And now, a message from Oklahoma highway workers to the drivers they see every day.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Richard in Clinton, Oklahoma.
My name is Tim from Garmin.
Hi there, I'm Leanne, and I work out of Guthrie.
Shane in Chickasha. My name is Darrell, and I'm a maintenance worker in Pauls Valley.
And we just wanted to say how much we appreciate you guys.
We know times on the road are tough sometimes.
You're already running late.
And then traffic slows you down because of a work zone and all that stuff.
We get it, because we drive too, you know.
We just wanted to say how much we appreciate it when you slow down.
Slow down when you see us out there working or fixing something.
Hey man, we're all in this together.
And we really appreciate you paying attention
And keeping us and yourself
safe in work zones, because
Even though our lives matter,
so do yours.
your life matters. Drive like it.
This message brought to you by the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation.
We have our 2 television spots.
I'm an unpredictable driver, and I'm running late. Oh, what's this? A work zone. I can save a few seconds by speeding. I'm distracted by this text message, and now I have to slam on the brakes. My sudden stopping catches you off guard. Pay attention in work zones, so you can react to unpredictable drivers like me.
It could be me who gets killed, but it's usually you. In the past 5 years, 85 people were killed in Oklahoma work zones. 4 were workers. 81 were drivers like you. Your life matters. Drive like it.
Governor, I want you to know we produce those in-house. You're familiar with our video branch. You have an occasion to use them and occasionally, but we did that in-house, and some of the stars of that show are sitting right here in the orange vest. So it is something we're very passionate about. Try to save money while we're doing it, but it's something that we wanted to get out. But we couldn't do it without the help of the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office and the Turnpike Authority, along with ODOT. If I could have you two stand up and receive acknowledgement. Thank you very much. We also have a very important memorial event that's going to take place, and one of our companies, Mid-State Traffic Control, is sponsoring that. They're from Oklahoma City, but Mid-State and their ownership are very passionate about work zone safety, and they're the guys that typically provide the barrels and the signs on our projects, but they're very passionate about this and have been very supportive of us over the years on work zone safety. On April 18th, Skydance Bridge in downtown Oklahoma City is going to be glowing in orange. It's not about OSU. It's about work zone safety. And then on May 1st, we're going to have a memorial event, and we would ask anyone and everyone to come. It'll be along I-235 and 36th Street. It will be an opportunity to remember those 85 who have died in the last 5 years. Mr. Chairman, I believe that's work zone safety.
We appreciate your presentation, and it is near and dear to all our hearts.
Thank you.
We'd ask you now to present the director's report as our last item, and we'll get ready to adjourn.
On your desk in front of you, we, Governor, each month we give an update. You'll recall our rail crossing safety program that you initiated just a short time ago, actually. It was only 18 months, and at the time we were talking about it was going to be a 3-year plan to put this together. And it was going to be a $100 million effort to provide rail crossing safety. Last legislative session, $26 million was part of the budget compromise, and so we're down $26 million out of the 100, but we remain diligent in what we did. On your desk, you see a summary, and I'm not going to read that to you, but one of the points that we made at the time was that we were going to put most of these projects not on the highway system, but on city streets and county roads. And that's really where the challenges were. That third line from the bottom, you can see that 89% of the projects are on local roads. So, and that's really where a lot of the fatalities were occurring. And you can see a fairly even divide between Class 1, the major railroads, and Class 3, the short line operators. Because the short line operators are really those who needed the financial assistance to get the safety in place. And so, Governor, just if you would take that with you, I think it's very informative if you're ever asked about what did we ever do with the money. This is what we've done with the money. I will tell you that the $74 million that is almost spent. We've got it committed to projects, and so with the cooperation of the railroads, and the railroads all stepped in and brought crews from outside the state to get this effort done, and I can't acknowledge that enough, the importance of doing that. So that's that item, Mr. Chairman. Any questions on that?
And to be clear, Director, that is the money that you're referring to, the proceeds from the sale of, I think it was a Sooner Sub, the name of, but that's what we're talking about.
That's correct.
That occurred 2 years ago, or more or less.
That's correct. We sold the Sooner Sub for $75 million, and then we turned that back into we put it in the rail maintenance revolving fund and needed to spend it on the system. And the governor thought this was a good idea, and so I'm for her deal. Mr. Chairman, just a quick update on the legislative process, if I could. We continue to work with the legislature. Governor Fallon had put together an idea to generate additional revenue. I believe she quotes the year of 1933 is the revenue model that we continue to operate under. It is, and part of her budget, and I mentioned to the commissioners, I think in the last 2 meetings, was to increase motor fuel tax from a current level of 14 cents for diesel and 17 cents for gasoline up to 24 and 24. But her intention, and the reason I keep mentioning this, was because her intention was not necessarily for ODOT to have additional money, but it was to generate money for revenue for the entire state. And we would offset that by giving up our allocation of income tax. And so we're all about that. Governor, I will tell you, we've made thus far 40 presentations around the state to different civic organizations on this very subject matter, updating the public about projects in their area, but really focusing on what's going on at the Capitol and the budget discussion. Additionally, we've had numerous what have become weekly conversations with the House A and B committees because they want to roll each one of the subcommittees in front of the major core functions, as the Secretary talked about. So every Thursday morning, we get a new subcommittee coming through, and we visit with them each week. So there's a lot of discussion going on about how to fund transportation, what's the proper way to fund transportation, and ultimately, I know the governor would hope that something could be done on the statewide revenue situation. So we continue that discussion, Mr. Chairman, and I know that's something we've talked about in the past.
Governor, there are quite a few businesses in the audience that have written letters to the editor, contacted their legislators, or either in writing or in person or both from the construction industry as well as from the engineering companies. If you wouldn't mind, Mike, if they could maybe all stand, those companies that have supported your position on how to ensure that we're moving into the 21st century on how we generate revenues.
Yeah, if you guys could stand up, please. Bryce. Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my report.
Appreciate your comments and really appreciate those people standing behind you, whether they're our industry partners, our staff here, and being willing to take the steps that are necessary regarding workplace safety. And thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. Secretary, and especially Governor. You've been such a great leader for transportation in so many ways. It's radically changed what we've been able to do. So we appreciate that. And I see you have another comment to make.
I do. I would, something you said earlier about economic development, and I know the governor was very involved with bringing the steel plant to southern Oklahoma. And as we noted on several occasions, the management of the steel plant said the reason they relocated there was because of the new highway in Durant. And I know the governor had and has some comments about that she'd like to make regarding the revenues being brought forth to fund transportation.
She made it happen, and she might like to hear, Governor, that I was talking to some realtors, and they said if you've got a house in the Durant area that is under $200,000, it sells in 24 hours. And if it's above that, it takes about a month sometimes. So things are rocking down there, but you know, all the work you did on that just wouldn't have happened. We certainly appreciate it. You stack that up against and along with the grant we received here at ODOT for Highway 69, it's made a major difference. Economic development engine.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Do you have any comments?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do hear good things about Durant, and it's an exciting time in different areas of our state, even though it may be challenging for the state of Oklahoma with the structure of our budget, which has been my point of discussion with the legislature for the last couple of years, is that we got to fix the basic foundation of our budget because it's no longer working, and fix the structural issues and quit borrowing from Peter to pay for Paul, which transportation gets a lot of, as you know. But I've been challenging the legislators to try to find a way to have a more steady stream of funding and not have the uncertainty and the ups and downs, which is not good for our state agencies and our state employees, but certainly not good for the economy and for our rating agencies when Standard & Poor's lowers a rating as they did a couple of months ago and may still do. So I appreciate the business community that has been out there trying to talk about the importance of finding structural changes to our budget that makes more sense as far as funding our priorities, which are education, healthcare, public safety, and transportation, as Secretary Ridley just mentioned, and appreciate all the presentations that various people. I know Secretary Ridley's really been out there pounding the pavement on the challenges within the budget itself, but transportation is one of those issues that had been left largely unfunded for many, many years, for decades. Even back to the time I was Lieutenant Governor and before, we basically patched holes in our roads, but we didn't really fix any of our bridges. And when I had the opportunity to be selected to be on the Transportation Committee in the United States Congress, it was very frequently that we would look at the different top states with the worst bridges in the nation, and Oklahoma was always on that chart, and I hated that. And Secretary Ridley would come up and talk to the United States Congress about funding for our roads and bridges and having stable revenue streams, and there are all kinds of challenges with that, with more fuel-efficient cars, as we know, and now you got hybrid cars, and you have electric cars, and other things like that, that takes away from the revenue streams that go towards funding our roads and bridges in our state. And so, in light of the challenges that we've had with the energy sector going down and the loss of sales tax revenue from shopping online, which has affected our budget anywhere from estimated $200 to $300 million, because we don't know how much people shop out of state, and we lose that revenue. We estimate that between the energy sector and the online shopping and just the natural trickle-down effect of those industries on our state budget and our corporate tax collections, that it's really impacted our budget the last 3 years. Now we're into this third year of a revenue shortfall. So I did lay forth ideas for the legislature to consider in my State of the State speech in February that included a lot of things, whether it was looking at our sales tax incentives, looking at our sales tax exemptions, the 150 different items that are exempt, looking at our tax code that was put in place in 1933, back a long time ago, and how much our goods versus services economy has totally changed. We're now more service-driven than we are goods-driven, manufacturing-driven as a nation and certainly as a state. And then I propose that we should look at our gasoline tax and our diesel tax, which hasn't been changed since 1987, 30 years, and that we're ranked 48th in gas and 49th in diesel in the nation as far as taxes applied towards those two categories, and we're the lowest in our region of all the 7 different states, including us in our region, on gasoline and diesel taxes, and way below the national average. And of course, we've told the public politically for decades upon decades upon decades, for a long, long time, that if you tax your gasoline and your diesel, it'll go towards roads and bridges. But the fact of the matter is, it gets diverted to lots of other different things. So one of my proposals, Director and Chairman, was that we take the gas and diesel tax, increase it to at least meet the regional average, below the national average, but meet the regional average, dedicate that funding stream towards our roads and bridges, and take the allocation money of general revenue, which goes towards that now, pull it back out to put towards education, public safety, healthcare, whatever it might be, but have that funding stream. As we tell the public, if you pay for your gasoline and your diesel, it's going to go to roads and bridges, but it's really not 100%. So anyway, I'd suggest that we look at those funding streams. So I appreciate those of you that have been sending letters and advocating on behalf of a certainty within our funding for our roads and our bridges and our infrastructure in our state. It's very important. And important for economic development, as you just mentioned.
Governor, I really appreciate, and we really appreciate what you're trying to do, because without that, we're fairly confident that we're going to take another big hit at the department. And it's something that we're going to have to make some adjustments. You know, one of the things that I was asked last summer was, can you do it again? And I said, not, and keep the 8-year plan whole. We will begin to remove projects out of the 8-year plan just because we can't fund it. We can't pay for it. And so, and I don't want to go backwards. I don't want another chunk of a bridge fall off and hit a car like it happened to Ivana Osborne some years ago. And she was a fatality because a football-sized chunk of concrete fell off a bridge. That's just not right. And it's not right and not good for economic development to have chicken wire underneath our bridges. That
You had a
doesn't look
chunk
good.
of a bridge fall out a couple weeks ago, didn't you? Somewhere, I don't remember where it was. Secretary?
East part of Oklahoma City.
East part of Oklahoma
Yeah,
City, you had a
yes.
chunk of a bridge that
Mhm.
fell out.
Yes, on I-40, we have I-40, on that corridor of I-40 in Del City and Midwest City, routinely, and on Friday afternoons typically, we get holes in the bridges.
And Director, we talk about your 8-year plan, which is wonderful, because back in the old days, politically at the Capitol, the way I understood it, is it wasn't always prioritizing the most need and the most traffic and the most congestion. It sometimes was done another way politically, but we switched that a long time
Yes,
ago.
that's right.
So we prioritize the most important needs of our state where it makes the most sense. But I think what the public has to understand is that that 8-year plan doesn't include all the needs of the state. It includes your most pressing needs that we can get done with the limited amount of funds that we have now. and that we prioritize for the future. So you could add a lot more other projects to that plan if you had the money. So when we talk about cutting transportation funding, you're not talking about just cutting out some excess stuff that would be nice. You're talking about the bare minimum priorities for the state that need to be funded, and all the other things are still waiting to get in line to be funded sometime in the future in that 8-year plan. And we had a lot of discussion recently about the revenue, shortfall revenue failure that we just had back in March, and all the agencies had to take 0.7% cut, just right under a 1% cut. And then we had some discussion recently about the revenue streams coming in under their projected amount of money monthly in our state, and the budget office had to take some money out of the rainy day fund, which thank God we had rainy day money, because when I came into office, we didn't have any rainy day money at all. We had $2, you've all heard that story, in our rainy day account. But where the legislature has gone in the past years to get that money has been to your revolving funds and your transportation funds. But even you have had so much money taken out over the past several years that now we bond transportation, so you can't go back and take that money out because it's not there anymore. So thus they went to the rainy day fund.
That's right.
Not as easy as it seems.
No, a lot of moving parts.
We're not excited about another bond. Did you have some more comments?
No, sir, I'm through. Thank you.
All right. Well, Governor, we thank you for your bold leadership in making suggestions to the legislature, and we thank you for continuing to lead boldly so we get to the finish line. You know, people need to come up with solutions. You know, criticism is great, but I think we're more interested in solutions. That's what we try to do at ODOT, and that 8-year plan. And you know, one thing we say here is the truth will set you free, and we want to make sure everybody knows the truth. So with that, if there are no other comments, we'll hear a motion. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. We're ready to vote. There we go. Got this newfangled machine, Governor. Motion passes. We are adjourned.